give you strife. He's Todd. He's tall, he's mean, he's labeling machine. He's Todd. Rides a motorbike, he'll tell you what it's like. He's Todd. Don't know what he'll say, he'll scare the kids away. He's Todd. He's Todd.
Hey, welcome to our first LinkedIn Live version of BS with Todd. So I appreciate everybody joining us this morning. Obviously, this is unrehearsed, unprepared, sometimes a little unprofessional. So that's the whole idea behind this, is to talk about industry labeling and to have a little fun for a half an hour. So again, I really enjoy and appreciate you showing up this morning. Hope everybody's well out there. I took a little respite and went to Colorado for a few days to see my brother and do a little hunting, and that was all right. Got out of there in time before the snow hit Tuesday. But we're all good here, and once again, thank you very much. So, BS with Todd is a series talking about labeling, industry labeling, and we go through the electrical side, the datacom side, the MRO side, facilities, manufacturing, warehousing. I've redone my studio. I'm not real happy with it right now. The camera seems to be a little wonky, but I got in some new products. I want to thank RXL for the metals. I want to thank NetSource for the LIU up there. I want to thank Softtech Maintenance in Fort Collins, Colorado for the active electronics. And we'll be going through some of these at a later date, talking about labeling runway and labeling LIUs and patch panels and so forth and whatnot. We do have some very exciting news, Ed, brother. We have some new products that are about ready to hit the streets, some new labels, some new flag labels that nobody's really even ever seen before. We've also got some self-laminating. There's been a lot of calls for self-laminating tape out there. So we got that coming on board, so stay tuned with that. There'll be some upgrades to the machines that you'll have to do, some firmware upgrades, but look for that in a couple of weeks. We got some new desktop machines coming out. You can see behind me, I got a 4-inch desktop machine. Stay tuned for that as well. We're working on some software and some consumables for that. So good things happening. What we're talking about this week is essentially asset management. Asset management is incredibly important for essentially your assets. And so some of the things that we're going to be talking about, I'm going to introduce Mr. Dan Cobb here in a little bit. He's going to give you some live demos. But scan to print is real big right now. But on the electrical side of the fence, things like electrical panels, I still see Sharpies out there. I still see duct tape. Really not professional. And again, you want to be professional about everything, and labeling, obviously, it's kind of like marking your spot out there. So tool cages. I know a lot of these electrical contractors have tool cages, and they're checking in parts and checking out parts, and they got bin locations for lugs and everything else out there. So it's very important to keep track of that as well. Job boxes. You got a job box going out the door. You're going to fill it with tools. Well, print a QR code with everything that's inside that box. One little scan of your phone or an actual handheld scanner, you know exactly what's coming out, and then you can check it in on the way back in with the asset management. Datacom, data centers and security, active electronics, UPSs, servers, hubs, routers, PCs, cameras, DVRs, HVAC, fire suppression. All that needs asset management as well. Again, you got your tool cages on the datacom side, your job boxes, you got rack contents. Imagine walking up to this rack and scanning it, and it basically tells you everything that is in this rack configuration right there. Very simple, very easy. Server cabinets, same thing. If you want to keep those server cabinets locked at all times, how about something on the outside of the server cabinet that a technician can walk up to, scan it, and basically tells them everything about that server cabinet, including the cable management, where those cables are coming from and where they're going to. So again, that's all included in this asset management that we do. MROs and facilities, tool cages, warehouses, shelves, bin locations, and then service records. Service records on, it could be a forklift, it could be a tool out there, but service records, again, not a lot of people think of that. Now, where Brother comes in is the actual asset management label, right? We don't offer the asset management software, but we do have partners out there. One in particular that I'm starting to work with is a company called Couture. And if you have any questions about them, or if you need some information, please, on the Q&A portion of this, let us know and we'll get back to you, and we'll introduce you to, they're not affiliated with Brother, it's just somebody we partner up with. We'll print the actual labels themselves. So with that being said, and because we only have a half an hour of time, I'm going to introduce Dan Cobb. Oh, one of the other things, hold on, before we do that. One of the other things, here's something kind of interesting, is that about a year ago, I went out to a job site and they wanted human assets. And Dan's going to talk about this, but essentially they wanted a QR code on the inside of the hard hat. So let's say that particular employee has an accident, is non-responsive. They can essentially scan that QR code inside of the hard hat, and they can get all that employee's information. I mean, it even went to the point of it showed his training and his different certifications, but it's got his blood type, it's got his address, he's got his emergency contact. So think of that. That's something it was great. And I think that more companies ought to do that as far as human assets. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Dan. Dan is going to run through some actual live scenarios. He's going to show you some labels. He's going to show you the software. Dan, take it away. You're looking lovely, Dan.
Thank you.
So anyway, Dan, take it away. I'll give you a few minutes, run through. And again, if you have any questions, the chat is available. I got Mr. Jamie Brookover somewhere in the U.S. today. He'll be answering your questions. And then any other questions we don't get to, we can always go back and answer those questions. So with that being said, Dan, it's all you.
All right. Before I get started, I just want to mention to Todd that I got my brother camp shirt on today. I see that you wear yours quite often, and I have the one with the logo on it, but I don't have the one with my name on it. I'm not ranking high enough to get that yet. But anyways, that's just my fashion tips for the day. I don't know. Anyways, wanted to talk about asset management, and asset management is a big thing for companies because you need to rely on these assets. Your employees need to rely on these assets. And it's basically your tools or anything. And when you think about asset management, you can think about it from a manufacturing perspective with tools. You could think of it from, let's say, a school where you're issuing laptop computers, like my laptop here that I'm using that has an asset tag on it. There's asset tags that are being used all over the place. And that's why it's important for you as the end user to make sure you're using the right labels and you're using the right software to go ahead and label it. But we're going to throw a couple extra ideas at you as far as labeling. And if you're an end user or you're one of our partners, you can definitely show this to your end user customers, and they can kind of take a look at this. But what I wanted to share with you is a couple different ways to do it: asset tags and asset labeling. And I'm just going to go ahead and flip this on over to my screen to kind of show P-Touch Editor. Kelly, if you could flip that over for me, perfect. This is P-Touch Editor. When you open up P-Touch Editor, there's a lot of different features in here. One of the categories itself is the asset management category. It's really easy to use. You can simply double click on that, open up that software, and right inside the tags that you can go edit and use however you want to. Super easy, super simple to go through. I'll give you an example of this lock washer here. Oh, that's another one that I wanted. Let's say we wanted to change the barcode to a different barcode. We could simply change that. It doesn't want to change it for me just yet because I have it set for the wrong one. I'm just going to change the properties, change the protocol. I And this one's not going to allow me to do that. So I'll delete it and start a new barcode here. And that's how simple it is to just change your barcode on that template. Resize it however you want. You can create your own asset tags, just as simple as that. You can change the name, print them directly to your printer. That's how easy it is to create an asset tag. But creating an asset tag for, let's say, your tools or your parts or whatever is great. It's a good way to keep track of your tools, but let's take it to the next level, because that's what we really like to do at Brother, is take it to the next level. So what I've done here was I've created a couple different asset tags. One is this one here. What I used for this is just an image of that lock washer. And I use this image because when you're looking at, let's say you're looking at a tool bin, and the tool bin, and it's got all these words going through it. Each of your employees has to sit and read each one of those labels to find out what that tool is. Well, to speed that process up, what do? We go ahead and we add a picture directly to that label. It makes it so much easier for your employees to find things, and it speeds up the time that they find things. You reduce your downtime by just simply adding a picture. It's as simple as using it in P-Touch Editor, or you can use it in your on your mobile device. Here's a video that I made real quick showing how to create an asset tag using iPrint and Label. I hope you can see this one. I couldn't get it into a larger format, but what I'm doing in this video is I'm taking a picture in the iPrint and Label app of that actual item and cropping it out to size, adding text to it, adding a barcode to it. It's as simple as that. So you can do it right there on your mobile device, or you can do it on in P-Touch Editor and create those. It's so simple to use these. What I'm doing here is all I'm doing is reformatting the font. I'll add a barcode later on. My label's done. I can save it to use later on. So this is iPrint Label and how simple it is. So that's it. That's really all you need to do. Now, all I'm doing in this video is just moving it around and format it properly and have that asset tag. So that asset tag is created. And again, in P-Touch Editor, use your images. Now, that's really simple. What I'm going to do here, Kelly, you can stop the screen share. I'm going to go ahead and show what kind of tape we need to use for this. And to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and flip my camera over. What kind of tape you want to use for that? There's all kinds of different tapes. The first thing that you want to make sure is that you're using something that's chemical, UV, and abrasion resistant, because if you're using these tags and oil gets to it, the sunlight gets to it, anything, and it wears off that barcode, you'll never be able to scan it, right? So you want to use something that's durable, something that's going to last. I got a bottle of some really bad stuff here, so I'm going to spray the really bad stuff right on top of that. And I forgot my wire brush. There it is. Here's my brush. I take my brush and I try to scratch that ink off of that. And it's not coming off. It's not coming off because it's a durable label. This label is chemical, UV, and abrasion resistant. We put an over laminating film on top of it to protect your assets. Not only are you protecting your assets by putting the barcode label on there, but you're protecting your assets by putting the right label on there too. What do you want to use for that? There's several different tapes that you can use for that, but here's one that's a little unique. You don't see these very often. This is a tamper evident label cartridge. It's just like your standard TZE tape. As a matter of fact, it is a TZE tape, but what it does when you lay this label down is you go to peel it off, and after you peel it off, it leaves a cross hatch pattern. Now, I'm not quite sure if you can see that here, but what I did with this guy was I put a label back here, and then I took it off just shortly after that, just to show that this has been tampered with. Now, when you get your assets back, if it leaves that behind that crosshatch pattern, you know somebody has tampered with it, and it allows you to manage your assets a lot more effectively. One of the things that we wanted to do was, how I talked about taking it to the next level. we wanted to, Kelly, can you go right back to my screen again? We wanted to talk about a really, really important feature that we have here, and that is human assets. That's the number one asset for every company, is human assets. Now, what Todd talked about earlier was your blood type, your allergies, any medications that you're taking. Todd and I worked on this. This is really cool. We worked on here. I'm going to flip my camera back around again so you guys can see me. So we talked about, Todd and I were working on this one. He asked me, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? Yeah. We figured it all out. I had no idea why we were doing any of these things until we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. And I was really excited to get out and show you guys what we did. So what I did here in P-Touch Editor was, this is very simple. This is two things. It's a QR code and a text box. The text box is coming from this spreadsheet down here, and it has all my information here. Well, this actually is pasted into a QR code. The text box is driven from this spreadsheet too. So I took all my employees. Well, they're not my employees. They're my counterparts. But I took all my counterparts and I put them all in here. And then I put all their emergency information right here in the QR code. And now when I scan this QR code, I can pull this information. Todd was telling me that he has a customer right now who's using this to put inside a hard hat. So in case there's an emergency, you can quickly scan that QR code and pull up all this information right there from your mobile device. That's fantastic. This is something that I think every company should use. If you are using hard hats, if you're using vests, or if you want it on the back of your employee identification badge or wherever, if you had this, you would have this information about each of these employees in an emergency situation. And let me just show you how simple this is to use. I created another video, and this one I actually changed so you could actually see the screen a little bit better. But what we're doing here is I took my iPad and I printed out some labels, and I quickly just scanned those labels and dragged down there, and it gives me all the information that I need for that person, all that emergency. There's emergency contact information. There's different things here that we can pull up, and it's as simple as creating this label. So I'm going to stop that and get that out of here and kind of show you how we can work that. I'm done with this screen. I'm going to move back over to my other camera. Full application in live. So a live shot of this. What I did was I created that label that we looked at earlier, and I saved it here to the PTE 800W. So I can just call it up on demand from any place. I'm out on the job site and I need to create a label to put on somebody's hard hat, somebody's vest, any of my assets, anything like that at all. I can just go in here and call up that data. Now you're not going to be able to see this screen, but you're going to have to trust me because I haven't saved here as in my database. So I'll just call up that one and call up those and hit print. I created a P-Touch Editor, saved this to the machine, and now I can call it up on demand from virtually any location that I want. And it prints out those QR codes for me. And I learned that using the PTE 800W is probably the best machine to go ahead and create these labels. And I'm out of tape. But you can kind of see, well, you can definitely see this. Now, the reason this is the best is because I saved it to the PTE 550W, and the PTE 550W does a great job at saving these labels. The problem is with this, I'll print just 3 of them. Problem is with this printer, it only prints up to a 1-inch label, and a 1-inch label, you can read a QR code on it. But if you do it the way I designed it, you're going to have to do a little bit of wiggling in order to get that QR code to read. And you can see there's a big difference between this label here and with that label there. The QR code is much bigger. I could have gone ahead and made this a little bit bigger, but then I wouldn't get the name on there. But that QR code on the PTE 800W is so much larger, and you can read it so much faster than you can with this. As a matter of fact, on that video, if you take a look, you'll see how it kind of started to scan over to some of the other things. Now, with that, I want to show, Todd was also talking about, I want to flip back over to to my screen in P-Touch Editor. I want to show this application too. So this one here, this is very simple. This is just like This is just like what Todd was talking about with the job box, right? So we took the same one with human assets. And what we did was we went ahead and put a list of all the different tools that are inside that box. That way, when you issue that box, you're getting issued that box, you can scan that box, take a look. This is what's inside it. Great. Take it out to the field. When you return it, the person you're returning it to can scan that box and say, this is what actually belongs in that box. And then they can sort through it and make sure you didn't forget anything on the job site and see if there's something you need to reorder. This is a very quick and simple way to manage those assets. Now take a look at it. I wish my grocery store had something like that, because I wouldn't have to go running up and down the aisles looking for specific things. But you can take a look at it from a racking standpoint. You get a big rack with all kinds of different parts in it. You can go ahead and scan that barcode. It tells you everything that's in that rack. It gives you all that information with one simple QR code. And it's very simple to create these labels, very simple to print these labels. And if you're using the brother labels, you know you're using the right ones, because these are tested to the extreme. These things can get beat up all day long. So that's really all I wanted to show you guys today. I really hope you took away some key points here. If you have any questions, I'm available. Reach out to me and reach out to Todd and anybody who was on that list of things. And I think we're going to throw up a contact list later on as well. So back to you, Todd.
Oh, great. Oh, sorry, Dan. Riveting. Hey, so I told you guys at the beginning of this thing, it's unrehearsed, it's unprepared, it's kind of shoot from the hip, and Dan did everything in accordance to what I just said. So, Dan, I appreciate your time on this. Dan spent a lot of time on QR codes. There's many different types of barcodes available. There's UPC, EAN, there's Aztec codes, and again, I get asked a lot, what type of barcode should we use for our asset management? It's really dependent upon the amount of characters. I do have some information available as far as the different types of barcodes to use based upon your alpha and numeric input. So again, if you need anything on that, that is available. The other part, and Dan showed in the QR code, but with our P-Touch editor, it's a beautiful thing by taking a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet of all your assets, your widgets, your tools. It doesn't matter what it is. And what will happen is that the label itself with that barcode, again, it could be UPC, EAN, any type of barcode, is pulling that information from the database and creating that asset label, if you will, that barcode, the barcode. So again, it's very easy to do. We will do the biggest part of it, which is transposing that information into that type of barcode. And then again, I mentioned we do team up with some partners, Coutier. I know they're out there today. If you have any questions, please send them our way. We can introduce you to those gentlemen, and they can help you out with the actual software itself. It's 10:23. Dan went through the too damn quick. But anyway, that's really asset management in a very shortened version of it. You can, I know I was very successful. So cable management, let's talk about that. That's an asset. One of the things that we can do as well is we can actually put a barcode on that particular cable. So for cable management software, again, we don't have the software available, but we can actually print those barcodes, which makes it nice and easy, especially in a data center environment, to where you know exactly where those cables are going. So anything related to asset management, I know this is tough to see right here, but we do quite a bit. As far as the different types of labels we do, and there's a couple of different, that's horrible. Oh, I don't know what's wrong with my camera. We'll have to fix that. With that being said, Jamie's out there right now. I know that I believe I've been told that this LinkedIn Live will record this. So for those folks who have missed this session, they can always go back. They can take a look. If by watching that you have any questions that arise at the end of this broadcast, Kelly is going to show a screen of all of our contact information within Brother Mobile Solutions. The new stuff is coming out soon. Don't forget about that. I'm excited about it. Specifically, I'm not a fan of flags. Say that fast 10 times. But we do have some new flagging coming up or around the corner. When I go into data centers, there is a lot of barcoding on flags. And sometimes it's very difficult unless you have a very large label to get that information on there. So we think we have a solution for you. All right. So that information is coming out soon. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, be my guest to talk to Jamie about that on the backside in the chat session. If you have any ideas about upcoming broadcasts, podcasts, webisodes, whatever the hell they call these things, let us know about that too. We've covered quite a bit. We do have a cache of videos that we've done prior to this LinkedIn Live. Again, this is our first attempt at this. Normally we kind of go through Zoom and there's a registration process and so forth and whatnot. But again, there is a cache of different videos out there that is available. If you want to go over those, reach out to one of us for those particular links. Next week, right? Outside plant. Not a lot of people think of, labeling in the outside plant world, but, if you look at your utility companies, they're starting to bury quite a bit. It's not just the fiber anymore. I mean, there's liabilities out there with fires and blah, blah, blah. So they're trying to put everything underground. And there's a lot of labeling, but those the labels have to be very durable. They have to be water resistant and chemical resistant and UV resistant and scratch resistant, scuff resistant, caustic resistant, so forth and whatnot. Brother fits right into that. So whether you're starting from the PED and you're running your cables through conduit situations or direct burial, Brother has the right label for you. So I'm going to be covering outside plant next week. Excuse me, not next week. We're doing it every other week. So week after this, anyway, 2 weeks from now, right? Join us for outside plant. Oh, there it is right there, September 24th. Aha. So join me September 24th, and we'll talk a little bit about outside plant. How do you contact Brother? How do you contact me? How do you contact Dan? Here's our information right here. I hail out of Carlsbad, California. All right. We got Mr. Jamie Brookover, who's in Virginia Beach. We got Dan, that's somewhere in Wisconsin. Mr. Bruce Page, he's somewhere on the East Coast as well. Rob Dawkins is in North Carolina. Our glorious leader, Craig Robinson, hails out of Bradenton, Florida. So if we're in your demographics, I cover everything west of the Mississippi. Please contact me. Anything on the other side of the Mississippi, contact one of those guys. So anyway, with that being said, it's 10:28. We're going to cut out here 2 minutes early. I hope to see you in 2 weeks. If you can, give me your feedback. Please give me your feedback on this LinkedIn Live. If it's not working, well, we'll go back to the old way. But give me your comments and let me know what you think of this. We seem to get more of an audience when we do this LinkedIn Live versus the other way. Our numbers are great. Don't get me wrong. We have tens of thousands so far. Hundreds of thousands have now watched BS with Todd, and we hope to see you soon. So with that being said, I'm out. Todd done. Have yourself a great week.